Omar is not trying to justify his actions through any grand moral framework. He is just being consistent.
Wire is basically based in the city of Baltimore, and the lens of a lot of stakeholders like
So, Mohit, I was rewatching The Wire last week, and I have a confession to make. I did not start watching Wire for a long time. The first time, I think I watched it like 10 years ago. And I know it's been on the IMDb top two, top three list, always contested, of course, with Breaking Bad and The Sopranos. And one of the scenes made out uh, that I was looking at, and then I stopped and was started thinking about it, was when Omar Little, goes into this convenience store and he's buying cereal, right? And everyone knows Omar in Baltimore, right? And everyone freezes when they see him there. And they know that this guy is a badass. He robs robbers for a living and drug dealers. But he is buying Honey Nut Cheerios like any other regular person. And I'm thinking, what kind of a person inspires that much fear amongst the people and also is following the rules of the society and buying Cheerios like a normal person.
yeah, I mean that's exactly the contradiction that makes Omar so fascinating. Like we all talk about having principles, but how many of us actually live by them when the going gets tough, right?
Yeah. So today, I think Omar is a good topic to dig into, and
Yeah.
this whole moral code thing that we're talking about, uh, because it is this character is right in the middle, right? Right and wrong. He's right in the middle. Everyone hates him. The police authorities used to hate him. The drug dealers used to hate him, and he used to be right there in the middle. So let's talk about him.
Yeah, okay, cool. So let's dig deep into this. For people who haven't seen The Wire, just a bit of a, I don't know, preview on what The Wire is going to be very tough. But Wire is basically based in the city of Baltimore, and it showcases what's wrong with the city, and it showcases
Yeah.
that through the lens of a lot of stakeholders, like,
Hmm.
of course, the police, through the drug dealers and how they come up in the projects, the police who's trying to catch them, the politicians who are
Yeah.
trying to change the ways of the world in Baltimore, the schools, the education system, the media. I mean, it's a show in 5 seasons. It's so power packed, and
Yeah.
it is so detailed. It is so comprehensive. It really is like reading a story of that city in that time, right? And it is so well told by Simon. But today we're going to talk about this one character, which I think is
Yeah.
the heart
Yeah.
and soul of the Wire. Of course, we could do so many episodes on so many characters of the
Yeah.
Wire and on the show itself. But today we're going to talk about, like I said, the one character that stands out, who's Omar Little. Omar Little is this badass, like Vishal said, who robs drug dealers in Baltimore in broad daylight.
Yeah.
But again, like you, I've probably seen Wire. I do like I watch it once every year as a ritual, and I take back something away every year, something different.
Yeah.
But while I was watching it, I haven't seen it this year, but while I was watching it last year, uh, there's one thing I wanted to understand, which is that why does everyone, including the audience, you and me,
Yeah.
root for a guy who's technically a criminal, right?
Yeah, and that's what I've figured out or have done my research on Reddits and talked with other peoples as well. Omar is operating by this incredible strict moral code, right? And we talked about it a bit before this. He's not robbing regular people. He's never touching any civilian, right? And
Yeah.
he never worked on Sundays. Quite a regular Joe. But in a world where cops are planting drugs and politicians, like you said, they're stealing money, and the media as well is corrupt, Omar surprisingly becomes the most honest person in the show.
I mean, honest. I mean, but he's a thief, right? I mean, he's a
Yeah,
robber.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. But he's
Yeah.
honest about being a thief, right? If you remember that scene in the court where he's not sugarcoating anything, right? When he's being
Mhm.
testified, and he's saying, I rob drug dealers. That's what I do." And you know that that's what he does, right? And there's something refreshing about that authenticity when he's talking about this in front of everyone.
So what you're saying is that his honesty about his dishonesty makes him a lot more trustworthy than people who claim to be honest or legitimate.
Yes, and I couldn't have summarized the show better. Who do you want to rather deal with? Someone who's always lying about their intentions, or someone who tells you exactly what they are, right? Even if what they're saying to you is not completely right or conventionally good, and it's doesn't feel right to you in that moment. And that's one of the reason we also end up sort of rooting for D'Angelo Barksdale, right?
Hmm.
Even though he's the man behind running the projects. He's a good man and tells us exactly who he is. And contrast him with Stringer Bell. He's shrewd and he's calculated and he's like a fox, right, running the show. But he doesn't have a code. He just wants to get things done.
Yeah, but talking of Stringer Bell, that
Yeah.
we could just take off on so many tangents here. Idris Elba played that role with such fucking aplomb. But again, I will not digress because
Yeah.
it's easy to. But so what you're saying is, in a corrupt system, authentic corruption
Yeah.
might be more moral than hypocritical legitimacy or legality.
Yeah. So Omar's not trying to justify his actions through any grand moral frameworks like we talk about more often than not in this show.
Hmm.
He is just being consistent with his own ethical structure. It's like he's created his own moral code, right? His version of virtue ethics. And if you think about it, Aristotle's idea that virtue is about character and not just about rules, following rules. And rather than judging people for their actions or isolated actions, we should be judging people by their character traits. And we've discussed this in our episodes before, leading to eudaimonia, a life well lived, which is the result of virtuous living, right?
Interesting. See, but do you remember this? I mean, remember as in we all read this. I think in our
Yeah.
civics courses or political science, whoever's taken that about this guy, this dude called Thomas Hobbes, right?
Mm.
Who I think would argue otherwise because as per his theory of social contract, individuals are supposed to willingly surrender some of their freedoms to an absolute sovereign in exchange for protection and other. Right? That's the deal that we have with the government, with the police, and all the
Yeah.
other entities out there.
And that's like a classic philosophical trap, right? What is right doesn't have to align with, and usually does not align with what's legal. If you think about it, every country has different rules as well, right? What's like legal in Amsterdam is not legal in India, but it doesn't mean that as humans it's right or not. That's not up to that. Of course, that's up to the country to decide their legal framework. But as human beings, we can always argue what is right or not for right or wrong for us as human beings. But yeah, coming back, if the system itself is corrupt, that's the question, right? What if this protection and the order is just a mirage, right? In Baltimore, if you think about it, Omar is only targeting people who are poisoning his community. We talked about it, the legitimate people or the authorities, they rather than protecting these communities, they are aggressively attacking these communities, right? And that's
Hmm.
what's happening.
Got it. So this is clearly a very gray area where
Yeah.
things aren't going well. So possibly one guy sort of rises above all in some ways.
Yeah.
Say that. But again, let's just double click a little bit more on this code, right? That you talked about. But doesn't Omar's code also enable him to like justify violence? At the end of the day, he is carrying that fucking
Yeah.
shotgun, killing people. He's terrorizing them with that gun. So is that justified violence?
Yeah, and this is again like all of these are murky, complex grounds, right? And if you remember, we talked about in our last episode, Hannah Arendt.
Yeah.
Uh, in the Heather episode, we talked about violence and power, right? And she said that, or argued that violence is something that we go to and we use when we don't have power.
Hmm. Okay, so what you're saying is Omar uses violence because he doesn't have institutional power.
Yeah, exactly, because he cannot call the police on drug dealers, right? He is an entity, an institution who exists outside the system.
Hmm.
So violence is his only tool for enforcing his own moral code. But what's happening is his violence is highly targeted and it's proportional as well. So that's the difference.
But what you're trying to say then is if you're outside the system, you get to create your own rules. Like, who on earth gave Omar the authority to be the judge and the jury?
No one, like no one gave it to him, right? He just took it, and the authority has to be earned in the system that he's living in, right? And he has earned that authority by never breaking his own rules.
Hmm.
In the 5 seasons of The Wire, like different themes every season, when does Omar ever violate his code, right? When does he rob a civilian or break his word or goes to work on Sunday? Never.
Yeah, yeah. But, I mean, interesting that you put it like
Yeah.
that. So that consistency, the fact that he never
Yeah.
breaks rules, is what makes him probably more trustworthy than anyone else. Even to people who are afraid of him, they sort of also probably
Yeah.
look up to him because he doesn't break his own code. I mean, we cannot talk about Omar Little and not talk about that amazing scene, that
Yeah.
courtroom scene with that goofball
Yeah.
of a lawyer. And it's that scene I keep coming back to when Omar, testifies in court against Bird, right?
Yeah.
So can you walk me through what your take is on that scene?
Okay, so let me just pop up that scene first for us to go through it.
Heir of the drug trade. You're stealing from those who themselves are stealing the lifeblood from our city. You are a parasite who leeches off
Just like you,
the
man.
culture of drugs. Excuse me? What?
I got the shotgun. You got the briefcase. It's on the game, though, right?
Yeah, that's
That look on that judge is. So, in this scene, what's happening is the defense attorney who's who's in cahoots with the gangs in Baltimore. He's trying to discredit Omar, right, by highlighting his criminal activities. And Omar, as we just saw, he just owns it completely. And uh, when asked about robbing drug dealers, he's like, "That's what I do." And then he also says that it's all in the game, right? You do it with uh,
the
you do it
briefcase
with the
that you
briefcase, and I'm doing it with my gun. So it's all in the game, right?
Hmm. And like, how does this really play out with the jury? I mean, is that something that sticks with them as well? Hmm.
So what's happening is his honesty about his being a criminality. It actually makes him seem much more trustworthy, right, than the people who lie about their legitimacy. And this is the scene, and this is where he talks about, that you and I are the same.
What I think you're also implying, and what the scene also implies, is that legal legitimacy doesn't necessarily equate with moral legitimacy, right?
Yeah, it's the same thing that we talked about, that laws and being right may or may not be the same thing, being legal or being right. And in this case, the lawyer is using his legitimacy to defend murderers. So obviously that's not right, right? He's
Yeah.
using a legal framework to do something wrong. And Omar is using his position to provide testimony that might deliver justice. So he is a bad person. He kills people, but at this point of time, he is trying to do something right. And Omar's testimony is more reliable because he has nothing to gain by lying, right?
Correct, correct,
And
correct.
his code is honest. He's honest with his code, and everyone knows that.
But of course, we've been singing pains of Mr. Omar Little, but let's not forget that his code also comes with a cost, right? There's a
Yeah,
price for his principles.
yeah,
His code isolates him. Because what he does for a living, he does it with such rigidity. The
yeah.
principle apply with such rigidity that they eventually cost him, right?
Yeah, that's right. And that's the tragedy of his character. And as the series goes on, you start seeing the human side of him as well, right? You start seeing him more vulnerable. You also see that real intimacy for him is almost impossible, right? He does not have real relationships with people. And how do you expect him to? Like, how do you have normal relationships when you live by rules most people cannot comprehend or understand at all?
Yeah, but I mean, it makes him a target at the end of the
Yeah.
day. Everyone knows exactly what Omar will do because he's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
consistent. If you remember,
yeah,
I'm forgetting the name of the guy, the blind chap, who
yeah,
gets killed, and by the time Omar's already away, he's off to the coast with his boyfriend.
yeah,
But because of his code, he has to come back,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And that's what
yeah,
eventually gets him killed.
yeah,
The whole world vying to kill him. He's
yeah,
killed by this boy Kennard, who doesn't even recognize the honor in what he's doing. Or, I mean, it's just so bizarre what happened, right? But I thought it was so fitting
yeah,
the way
yeah,
he died,
yeah,
because no one was exact. I mean, no one got to exact their revenge from him.
yes,
Thereby, the series told us that he was not wrong,
yeah, yeah,
right? But he was killed in a bizarre tragedy, thereby
yeah,
hinting at the fact that there was obviously some wrongs in what he
yeah,
was doing, right?
yeah, yeah. And this is what's making the story both inspiring and tragic as well, right? Inspiring because he maintained the principles a in Baltimore, also in impossible circumstances, right? Like if you look at Baltimore and especially in these 5 seasons, everything is breaking down, right? There
Yeah,
is nothing which is right. No one lives a normal happy life there. So it was
Amsterdam.
almost impossible, right, to maintain any sort of principles. So that's inspiring and tragic at the same time. But he's not a saint, right? You rightly said that there was something bad going on, and in
Hmm.
that there was a scene with Bunk and Omar on the beach talking about the recent killings of Omar's stick-up girl Tasha,
Yeah.
and he says that what that where that girl fell, I saw kids acting like Omar, calling you by name, glorifying your ass, makes me sick, motherfucker. How far we had done fell.
Hmm.
So there is something bad he going on. He's being glorified for what he's done, what he's doing, and what happens is when people are glorified, uh, and people who are glorifying them, they don't see the full picture, right? So let's say there is a kid who likes Omar for what he does, but he only sees half the picture, that he's a badass that everyone is afraid of, and he goes around killing people. He might not be aware of, okay, that but this guy has a code and he's following the code of not killing innocent people, and that might not percolate to this new generation.
And Vishal, that's what happens if you remember, because the last two seasons tell the story of these smaller kids growing up,
Yeah,
and this
yeah,
guy, this kid who finally kills
yeah,
that weird ass girl. I forget
yeah,
her name.
yeah, 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 I know.
And who goes rogue, right? He's following in the footsteps of Omar, right?
Yeah,
He's becoming his generation's Omar, which
yeah,
is, I mean, it's beautiful the way that comes about as well. But yeah, I mean, what makes this series and the character obviously so awesome is it's all too gray. It's a clusterfuck of right and
yeah,
wrong with an impossibility of telling what's what, right? But
yeah.
anyhow, what can we learn from Omar's approach to ethics, Vishal?
Like the most important thing I would say is that you have a code. You can have a personal code, right? You
Hmm.
can have your own framework. You don't need to follow Socrates or Plato or Aurelius. You can take the best of all of these thinkers, make your own personal code according to your situation. So if you're living in Baltimore, make your code. If you're living in India, Goa, Amsterdam, make your own code, which helps you, and then you stick by it, even when it gets difficult, right?
Hmm. And Umar, like you said, he never tries to justify his actions
Yeah,
through any elaborate
yeah,
philosophy or frameworks or shit like that. He just
yeah.
lives
There's no ideology. He's not quoting Nietzsche or Camus or any other such person. He's just living his daily life, right?
right. So radical consistency, radical honesty,
Yeah,
questionable ethics, I
yeah.
guess.
I would think so. Yeah, yeah. And we, of course, can disagree with the methods.
Of course.
But the reason the character sticks out and the reason we were uh, inclined towards making this show about him is because of his authenticity, right?
Yeah.
He never claimed to be something that he's not. And he never asked anyone to follow rules he won't follow himself.
Cool, cool. So again, before we wrap up, Vishal, as we always do, what's your favorite Omar moment?
Okay, so I'm gonna play this one for us to get in the mood.
Yes. Let's do it.
Well, something ain't right, yo.
Watch out, man. Got that food. It's packing. Here you come.
Yo, so come on, yo, Omar's coming, man. Oh, shit. Yeah. The cheese. stands alone.
Omar coming, yo, Omar coming.
Yeah, so like I want to know what CD player that guy was using, which fell off,
Takes me
right?
back.
Yeah. So yeah, this scene is whistling the farmer in the dell, and
Mhm.
everyone just scrambles to run, right? And there's almost something mythical about it. Uh, there's this force of nature that changes the ecosystem just by being present. And then everyone starts screaming that Omar coming, Omar coming. It's like a storm or a hurricane, right?
Yeah, I mean that whistle is both
Yeah.
innocent and terrifying. Yeah, it's like a nursery rhyme being turned into a battle cry.
Yeah, and it's he became legendary, right? That's how he becomes
Yeah.
such a legendary figure in the show. He just not doesn't need any threats or the guns, just the whistle, and everyone knows what's coming.
But again, since we're talking scenes, I'm going to volunteer and talk about
Yeah,
my favorite one as well. This is when Marlo and his crew are playing cards, and he
yeah,
just barges in. He says, "Pay up, give me all the money you have." And then Marlo, obviously, cold blooded asshole, and he's like, "Bro, that's my money." To which Omar says, "Money ain't got no owners, only
yeah,
spenders."
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I think his way of thinking is almost very basic and rudimentary and straightforward, right? And this clearly shows it. Uh, and there's also the scene about when Omar kills Stinkum and shoots Weebay, so that's also a nice scene.
Oh yeah, let's see that.
Yeah,
That
yeah, yeah.
moment
Let me see if I
gave
can find that. That almost has a separate fan base, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the most epic one-liner to ever exist in
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
video
yeah, yeah.
game. Wow.
Again, the whistle.
Hey, yo, lesson here, babe. You come at the king, you best not miss.
And you can see the resignation on his face, right? Uh,
Yeah.
that oh yeah, that now the storm is here.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
But wow, this has truly been incredible. I mean, talking about Omar Little, I've always wanted to do that.
yeah, of course.
Yeah, and of course, Omar, being the legend he is, he I think forces us to ask these uncomfortable questions, which we've sort of spoken about consistency, about authenticity, and about living with the code, right?
And this is what, like we said before, right? This is what great television and great movies do. They make us examine our own frameworks, moral, legal, or spiritual. And every day we make choices about what kind of person we want to be, right? And Omar shows us that choices matter, and especially when no one's watching. So make your choices and live with them.
Nice. So, for everyone listening, guys, do you have a personal code? And how do you maintain it when it gets difficult? Write in
Yeah,
the comments
do
and let us know.
do let us know. And this is Real Philosophy. And this is Mohit and Vishal, and we'll be back soon. Until then, keep that shotgun loaded.
Oh, yes.